FX, what's popping? So, hear me out, right? So, I've been seeing people talk about on social media negative risk rewards, okay? And that made me think about, I mean, it sounds crazy to do that because all I've ever heard is higher risk reward is better and one to ones and less suck and all this and that. But now that I've been doing one to ones, I feel like one to ones are better than higher risk rewards. And now I've had a few trades this week where after seeing this, I'm like, maybe not necessarily only taking negative risk rewards is better, but just taking what the market gives you overall is better. And I've had a few trades that have made me think that. But look at this. So a point 0.5 to 1, you're obviously going to win a lot more than you lose, right? You're going to win 80, 85, 90% of the time. And then you got to think, what if we take the same approach as what we're doing with one to ones, where we close it out early if it goes against us? So we'll win 80% of the time. So if we're risking 1,000 to make 500, we'll make 4,000. And then the two losses could be cut at 25, 30% losses, the same way that we would cut a one to one loss at 50 to 60%. So then you'll still be profitable and you'll still be making a little bit more money on the winners than you lose on the losers. The one to one, the same thing, probably going to be around a 50, 55% win rate. And you're going to be closing the losers early, 50, 60% of the loss. You'll still be profitable. And a 1 to 5, you'll probably be at a 20% win rate. And you'll be profitable in the long run. You won't be closing out losers early. But they all I feel like they all even out to be around the same profitability in the long run on paper. But on paper is different from real life trading. In real life trading, there comes emotions, and the win rate will 100% affect how confident you are and how you approach the market. So that's what I've been thinking about. So another thing that I've realized that this does is it will allow you to not have to force things that aren't really there. So I had trades this week on NZD USD, okay, in CAD-J, and what happened was on NU, I said, okay, I'm going to take sales right here on this level, and I was going to have a one to one. I think the stop was like right here, and I was going to target down here. And what ended up happening was, now I look back and I realize this target down here, this little low that was created, was the most realistic TP to have. Okay. So now what if I target that, and then I just have a stop that matches a 1 to 1 or a 0.5 to 1 or whatever, right? So with the one to one, what I was going to do is, if price comes up probably about halfway to here, just completely ignores this whole level, then you close it out, you know. Oops. And I actually ended up closing it out on NU once it got up here. It got up to like right here, and I was like, oh, it's not going to close. Okay, cool, whatever. Close it out. But what happens, price went up there and then it closed like that. I should have waited for the close, and that was 100% my mistake. I didn't wait for the close. I was about to go to sleep, so I just closed it out. Should have waited for the close. If it would have closed like that, 100% would have closed it out. But I didn't wait for the close, and that was my fault. So the close is usually going to be at like half. So right around here is where it should have been. So now, this is the next target. Makes sense. And then price ended up going straight down to that target and going up, right? So now this would have got hit, okay? This didn't. And then another thing happened on CAD-J where it was the exact same thing. And it was right here, and it was like, okay, I called it out at the beginning of the week, and I had this set up already ready and everything. I said, I think we can buy right here. But what I did is I had my stop loss right here, and I was like, okay, well, we got to hit a one to one. So then I just extended the TP, and it didn't get hit. But if we would have had this realistic target right here, not worrying about the risk reward, just taking what the market is actually giving us, I would have hit that TP, right? Could have even been right there at the very end of the wick. That would have been that, right? And that made sense. But the alternative was to have my stop that close. And to me, I was like, that's a little too close. I like it below the low because that makes sense to me. And this is what would have happened, right? But in the other side, if price would have just done this and just ran down and closed like that, then we could have closed it out, and that's a 50 pip stop. We could have closed it at a little less than 50%. Okay. So that's what I've been thinking about lately, and it kind of just makes sense. On paper, it evens out to be about the same thing, but in reality, it's really not. It's really not, and I think it'll add up to be where you're going to be 80 to 85% accurate. Because on this one, I mean, you got to even see this. Like, it makes sense to target this next high right here, right, for a TP. To me, that's what it works with my strategy. It just makes sense to target that. So now for a 1-to-1, you got to have that. And that's not a very safe stop. Okay. I don't think this got stopped out, or it would have. It would have got stopped. But with a point 0.5 or less below these lows, which is what makes sense to me, I would have just closed it right here and I would have lost, whatever percentage that would have been, 163, whatever that, what, probably like 30% or whatever. 30%, less than 30% of the stop. Yeah. Would have been like 25 or less percent of the entire thing. That's what I would have lost. With a 1-to-1, you would have just immediately got stopped and been done. Whereas the reason is because a real safe stop loss is down there, but now you have to match that and go all the way up there. If you want a 1-to-1, if you want a 1-to-2, whatever you do, you got to match that. And again, I'm not saying that I'm only going to take these. I don't even know if I'm going to do this. But I think taking what the market is giving you is a much better option than trying to force things that are not there. So taking a trade like this, taking sells right here and then targeting here and having a stop like that, that's a little excessive. It doesn't need to be that big, but that's a reasonable thing to do. That makes sense to have, a TP down here and take that, and that's what I would take. I'm not going to force. I'm not going to be like, okay, well, I have to have a negative. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't have to do that. Just taking what the market is giving you versus trying to force, like, okay, well, now I have to have this just to hit a risk reward. That doesn't make any sense. And then these ones over here, like I was saying, where it didn't really make sense to have a 1-to-1, because this is the target. This is the most realistic target that I have. This is the entry. This is how my strategy works. Why am I going to have to force a 1-to-1? This made up risk reward number that I don't really have to do. How about I just have a bigger risk reward? I mean, a smaller risk reward, a bigger stop that makes sense, and then hit that target versus trying to force something that's not there and getting stopped out like I did on NU and on this pair. I closed NU and that early, and then whatever other pair I showed this week. I don't remember what the other one was. This one. And then I ended up closing this early, I think, and then 3. So 3 early closes this week, where 2 of them could have been wins, and then this one could be a break even almost right now. And they were all literally just because I was trying to force a risk reward that wasn't there on CAD-J, GN, and NU were all trades that I tried to force something that wasn't really there. So something I'm thinking about today, negative risk rewards. That's it. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't know if I would call it out to people, because people are probably going to hate on that and say it's stupid and leave. I don't know if I want to do that, but I genuinely think that it's probably a better idea to just take what the market is giving you versus trying to force a risk reward that sometimes is not there. Sometimes it is, but I mean, that's 3 cases this week that it wasn't. Just like the last couple weeks where there was 4 trades in a row where, having a 1-to-1 worked and the 1-to-2s didn't, and it got me stopped out. Having a smaller or bigger risk reward and a safer stop loss makes sense a lot of the time. So it's something that I'm starting to figure out, and it's just like take what's there and don't try to force something that's not really there. But that's it, man. OFX out.